I got my first trail camera when I was 10 years old. It took 8 D-cell batteries and had a roll of film, and I set it up on a dead cow to see what would come in on it. I was so excited to take that roll of film to town, get them developed, and when I got my photos back, it was mostly just blurry photos of ravens and magpies, but in one of them in the dark, I could see all these eyes circling this cow off in the distance, just glowing in this big bright flash of this giant awkward camera. But I was so excited by that I just knew that I'd be running game cameras forever. And they've changed so much since then. The best of the cameras now are made by Tacticam. So these reveal cell cameras will work in places that have basically no cell service at all. So I can get cell service on the camera when I can't get it on my phone. They have live view. They've got active GPS. So if a bear packs my camera off, I can find it again. Or if I forget about it, definitely have done that. I can change all of the features through the app on my phone. The photos and videos just get sent to me. And ultimately, this makes me a better hunting guide because I can monitor a really wide area without going in there and disturbing the wildlife in that area, right? I'm just getting the intel back and making decisions based off of what I'm seeing on those cameras. If you want to learn more about Reveal, go to www.tacticam.com and check out their newest camera. That's the Ultra. That's the one that I'm using right now. And it's, simply put, the easiest and best trail camera that I've ever used. So go check it out. These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. Well, Mr. Paul Cauthen, thank you so much for making the time. Been a huge fan of yours for a long time. When my little sister was living in Austin and going to culinary school and working 17 jobs, you were always super kind to her. And it's kind of an interesting thing, right? Because career-wise, both of you guys were just scrapping it out at that time.
We were little babies.
Yeah.
You know? And, Adele was always so kind to me, and we were good friends and still are. And I hate that I missed her, but, I had followed you, post knowing Adele by a decade, right?
Yeah.
And I'm following you, and I'm loving what you're doing with, how you harvest animals, how, you're in Marine Corps, and all the whole thing. Like you're like a dude's dude. I was like, man, this guy's freaking knowledgeable, and he'd be a guy that if I got stuck out in the woods with, I'd want to be with this guy, And then I find out, then I see a picture of you and Adele, and I was like, wait. Are they married? I was like, no way. I was like, no, that's his sister. I was like, holy crap. I was like, they're running this ranch. They're running it together. And then I dug in deeper. I was like, wow, this is so cool. What y'all are doing. It's epic.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how did that come about? Like your family ranch or?
Yeah. Old family ranch. So
here in Oregon.
Adele and I are the 5th generation. So her boys are the 6th generation. And the ranch was founded in 1884. It's one of the oldest businesses in the state.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. We would love to have you out there sometime. Do some
she invited to cook,
and
I was like, oh man, I know she can throw down.
But man, on these tours, your time's just got to be wild. How do you manage it?
I was just talking to Mark Weistrock from Midland on the phone when you walked in, and he's beat. He's just been on the road. He's shooting movies. He's doing things like this, and I was like, dude, you just got to keep your head down, and you can't look too far into the calendar.
Yeah.
Because, the future brings you anxiety.
Right.
And living in the now and accomplishing and doing the best that you can as a human right now is more important than really ripping into the future and thinking about, it's good to have 5-year goals financially or want to be this or want to be at this point or, those kind of things. Goals are fine. But, thinking about the to-do list.
Yeah.
And ahead of time is kind of, what about right now?
Yeah.
You kind of have to just be like, this is my job. But when people ask me where I'm going to be next week, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of, and my wife says, you know, she'll be like, all right, well, we need to pack you up. I was like, where am I going? Where am I going? You know, and
Yeah.
she'll, you know, let me know what's up, and she keeps me. She enables my brain to alleviate all that kind of stress. So, you know, my management and my TM and my crew here really helps me with that because I mean it's just a lot.
Sure.
And I'd rather stay up here, hang out with you guys, go check out your ranch.
Of course, yeah.
Maybe harvest an animal that needs to be taken, you know, or, you know, anything, cook. And I love to just kick back and be merry, you know. I mean, it's kind of a cliche thing, but just being happy in the moment's what it's all about.
Yeah. I recently heard a psychologist talking about this in terms of suicide, actually. And she was saying that humans are one of the only animals that commit suicide. And a big part of the reason is that we can imagine a future that's worse than our current situation. Right. So thinking about too far into the future.
Yeah. Instead of fixing right now, or
Yeah.
trying to help or dig yourself out of wherever you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, like where you're at is survivable just in its nature. Like you're doing
it's crazy.
it.
Crazy you mentioned.
We're all making it right
you
now.
mentioned
Yeah.
suicide. I was talking to my bass player this morning at breakfast, and we saw some homeless guy that was just worn down, like doesn't look like, you know, he's gonna be here too much longer.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, what if you were there? I was like, man, I'd have probably maybe already jumped off a bridge or something, you know. And he looks at me and he's like, you know, I don't think you would. And I was like, why is that? And he's like, I just think that you could dig yourself out of anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought about it for a second. I was like, you know, unless I was already just like lost my entire family and everybody turned, I don't know, you know, there's always a way to mend that barrier of going there. You know, mentally you think you can be at that low, but there's only one place from the lowest back up, you know.
Yeah.
Once you've hit that rock bottom.
Well, that theme of redemption shows up in your music all the time, right? Where does that come from for you?
Man, it's just fighting myself. Self-doubt, self-worry, self-hate, you know, negativity, focusing on things you can't control, and letting, I guess I call the darkness kind of take a hold of you, you know, to where you're not, you have to, for me, I have to like write my way out of, like, I'm definitely manic, and some probably say I'm bipolar. You know, but I've learned how to work my engine.
Right.
You know what I mean? The one that God gave me.
Yeah.
And that's and how I work it's through song and through being able to give it to the people live, and then being able to be at home and be present with my wife, and knowing that those are the facets of me. It's the writing, it's being on the road and taking in so that I can write. You know, you're absorbing the sponge when you're out on the road. You're bringing it in. Then when you get back home, you squeeze it all out onto the piano or in the studio or whatever, you know. And
Interesting.
And that's how I have to have that flow in my head, knowing that that's going to be constant. Because when it starts changing and I get very anxious, and I get I get angry. I'm just you know, I can turn into an asshole real fast, you know, and it's like I'm watching myself be that,
Right.
you know, and so how I prevent that is through song and through my feelings and being totally honest with my fans, and like that's why I've tried to just write songs that mean something, and I ask God every night before I go on stage, I was like, God, if there's one person out here out of the thousands of people that are at this show, if there's just one that I can touch, my job's done. It's like, just give me one. Yeah.
You get that from your dad?
My grandfather.
From your grandfather?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He told me.
What were the lessons there?
He told me, you know, he died when I was 10 years old, and he was the leader of my family. My mom and dad got a divorce when I was about 8 or 9, and then my granddad got sick with cancer, and I thought it was just thyroid, and then it was anaplastic, and he died in like 3-4 months. It was real quick. And he always told me to take care of my mom, take care of my sisters, take care of my grandmother. You know, he wrote me a big list of things to do when he was dying. And I really kind of took away from being a kid, you know, from really.
Yeah, you're 10 years old.
Yeah, you know, you're just not. Now you need to buck up, mow the yard, and take care of this stuff, you know. So, learning how to use my gift, and my granddad always called it. He said, "Son, you're a vessel." He's like, "You don't abuse it. Just use it for the glory of God and for the light and for the goodness in people."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just know that. He's like, you've been given the gift. I have the gift. He sang in the church. He's an insane singer. Amazing art. Like, wrote songs. He was insane. Great. Better singer than me by far. And, you know, at his funeral, you know, a bunch of artists came up to me and said that your granddad chose, you know, the Church of Christ and your grandmother over this rock and roll and, you know, these live going on the road and leaving home situation. So I'm kind of lucky that it skipped, because I'd be like, you know, Johnny Cash's son, or like, you know what I mean, or grandson, or like always just, you know, you always look up to guys like Lucas Nelson that have the guy, their fathers being, you know, Willie and stuff like that, and you're trying to fill the shoes, you know?
Sure.
But I feel that every day, because my granddad was just a hell of a man, and he was morally sound. And he was family oriented, and he loved giving more than receiving. And he taught me that giving the music to the people is the greatest gift you could ever give.
The direction that you've gone is honestly to create your own genre.
Yeah, I've just never been moldable my entire life. Asked my mother, asked my dad.
Yeah.
They were trying to ask all my teachers.
They tried.
They all tried. Everybody tried, and nobody did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just like I was a hard-head, like hard-nosed kid, and it just never really changed.
Yeah.
And that kind of played out through my songs and through my music. You know, I've released stuff that's been kind of on the edge at times, or, you know, I cuss and stuff. My dad to this day was upset that I let all those cuss words fly in songs, because, you know, he talks about legacy and what kind of family we are. And, you know, do I have regrets about some of it? Yeah, because I don't want my family to be upset about it, but at the same time, it's like, that's what people say. That's actually what the real world's saying. These are words that people use, and this is actually going to touch people in a way outside of the church that's not cookie cutter, that I can touch lives like Jesus would, in a way, you know, and try to just be there to the people that are in the darkness, or be there to people that cuss all the time, and maybe they come because of that, one of these songs that has cuss words in it, because they like that one, and then I show them more of a vulnerable song while I'm there, and that actually touches them, and it changes them. I've had so many messages of people that said that they haven't killed themselves, they haven't divorced their wives or cheated, or they haven't done this or that because of my songs.
How cool is that?
That's That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I want more of that.
Norman McLean, the author of A River Runs Through It, said, be always profane, but never vulgar.
Exactly.
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
Right? As a Marine, I can swear like a
There's
fish
more
drinks
vulgar
water,
words.
right?
Yeah,
I don't even know that it's happening sometimes. If I get around the boys and like an innocent civilian walks past, they think something really dark is going down, but it's just talking, you know? But there is a difference between profanity and being profane. And yeah.
You don't hear me say the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah.
You don't hear me
so you've got some boundaries
talk
there.
down. You don't ever hear me talk negative or in a dirty, nasty way about women.
Sure.
I'm a big advocate of that.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I put women on pedestals. That's what I do. I love them. They're great. They keep the world turning and keep us sane, because I think all men are freaking nuts. You know what I mean? Like, and everybody says girls are crazy. I was like, no, girls are crazy enough to be able to put up with us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So Yeah, man. There is a difference between being profane and vulgar. So I try not to be vulgar.
How old were you actually when you killed your first rabbit?
Oh, I was not two. That's a lie. I was probably 8.
Okay.
8 years old with a little 22, a little Benjamin.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Start out with a Benjamin.
Do you get to hunt every year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's every year, but I will go hunting and not harvest animals because I already have a fridge that's full.
Sure.
So I'll like skip every other year on like whitetail.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I'll kill, like last year I killed 3 whitetail.
Yeah.
And I've got
You had a great
freezer full. And then I harvested an entire steer, and took it all to ground. So I've got a bunch of meat at my house, and it's all, natural, grass-fed. We don't mess around with any of that.
Yeah.
And my wife is an insane cook.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. Like it's unbelievable. You got to come to Tyler, Texas. Come hunting down in South Texas, dude. I'll take you to some. I mean, you can have the high fence like luxury hunts, or you can go and we can really go hunting out in like Shackelford County and Albany and those places that Boone and Crockett low fence, freaking 190 to 220 inch deer that are 8 years old that have been around a long time. That's like this is a smart animal. You know what I mean?
They are smart.
That's why that gets my heart pumping more is harvesting animals that need to go and not young. I'll kill a young doe because there's just a lot of does that need to be, to manage.
Part of the game. You got to do it.
I'll kill a young doe, and that's what I'll usually take to the, to the processor.
Yeah, it's wonderful food.
So good.
Wonderful food.
And
Texans are good deer hunters.
Dude.
Like there are some states that have some huge bodied, huge antlered bucks, that are just living off Monsanto
Kansas
corn or
is
whatever.
amazing too.
For sure. But
it needs to have something. I mean, it's a pretty cornfield out there. They need some good deer.
They need some corn, yeah. If it weren't for corn, it'd be a different beast.
Yeah, there would not be.
Yeah.
Those deer are insane, dude.
Yeah.
I thought they were mule deer.
Yeah.
Like, my buddy showed me a picture, and I was like, is this a freaking – what is this? He's like, that's Kansas deer. I was like, buddy, forehead's like freaking dark. They look mule deer. I think it's like a breed. Like, it's a little mixture.
They're thick.
They're thick.
Yeah, I was hunting in Nebraska a few years ago, and I just killed a doe back here in Oregon, and I can carry out a whitetail doe here in Oregon whole, no problem, right? It's not a huge animal. And I'd shot this doe.
160, 140.
Right. I'd shot this doe, and camera guy was with me, and I was like, I'm just going to pack her out whole back to the truck. And he's like, she looked pretty big. I was like, it's a whitetail doe. And I got up there, and this thing looked like a 2-year-old cow elk, and I was like, we're busting out the knives.
We're busting out the knives, dude. We're getting rid of the guts. We're gonna cut the leg. We're gonna do that. We're gonna
we
do this
gotta
right.
make this smaller.
Yeah, we gotta whittle this down. Leave something for Mother Nature
Yeah.
to pick on too here in the field for the buzzards.
The times that I've got to hunt Texas, I'm more struck with the people and the food than I am with the hunting. But the hunting is incredible. It's all awesome. And
why are you struck with the people in the hunting or the food?
Well, I mean,
it's just because we got a freaking great. It's the Tex-Mex.
It's so good. The Tex-Mex.
It's the peppers. That's what I love about Texas.
It's better than Mexican food, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can't say that. Because
for me, like I prefer that South Texas food over the food in Mexico.
No doubt.
I love it both. But man, the tortillas are phenomenal. I mean, something as simple as refried beans is so good, so good.
Yeah, man.
And
they
people
don't cut corners.
People are hospitable and they're honest. They're really proud of where they're from, and they take pride in the way that they show off their home and the way that they host.
It's a big thing.
It's a special experience.
That's my mom's favorite thing to do. That was my grandmother's favorite thing to do. That's my wife's favorite thing to do is to host.
Yeah.
And to show love through food,
right?
And through a good night of music. We'll bring friends over. We'll play around my piano at night. We'll bust out a nice bottle of wine that one of our friends from usually the West Coast sends to us, either Austin Hope or, the Dow, family was always good to us. And we get lucked out by just me meeting people that are artists in their own right, in food and wine and whiskey and beer and everything that you can imagine. And then you get down to people that are just insane sweet corn growers, in bad to the bone okra growers. Then you meet these guys that know the tomatoes better than anybody in Jacksonville, Texas, and they'll bring you a tomato that'll rock your socks off, and you don't even realize, like, this is what? Like, that's the kind of stuff that we really love to do down in Texas. Is people take pride in it.
Yeah.
And they really, the old like church style was potluck. Everybody brings a dish, and so the other day, I'm going to give a shout out to Jamie Irwin in East Texas, and I had my mind blown. She's been, she's got her own chicken coop, and she brought over some eggs, and she brought over some deviled eggs, and she blew my mind, and I couldn't even tell my wife. I was like, that might be the best deviled egg I've ever eaten. Like,
ask her how she does that,
dude. She got crispy bacon too, and she waited. She said, "I still need to church these up a bit." When she came into the house, and so she went and got the crispy bacon and put like 3 little slices of bacon in the tops of each one. And I went over there and I had one, and like nobody had eaten any, and there was only like a tray of a dozen. And I look at there and I look at everybody, and I was like, I'm going to eat 4 of these. And I smoked most of them, and I got out of there quick. I was like hiding on the 4th one, feeling guilty because nobody's ever tried these. I was like, dude, these are just too good.
Yeah.
So
she knew she was showing off.
She knew she was showing off. And it's just cool. Like, people do that, and, my best family friend that's pretty much family, Judy Ham, she brings over like a tomato tart when her tomatoes are good, which is like a pie crust that she makes from scratch with tomatoes and basil and mozzarella and with balsamic vinaigrette all over the top of it with salty, and like, it's like she brings over hot, and she'll say, I'm bringing over a hot one, and she'll bring over that hot whole pie, and I'll sit there and I'll eat like pie, like a third of this tomato tart. I'm eating the stuff that they used to bring back in the 50s to each other's house and stuff, like deviled eggs, tomato tarts.
Sure.
We're trading our nice herbs for fruit across the street. Our neighbor brings us pears and different peaches and stuff like that, and like then we give her basil, and my wife has a garden out front, and it's just thriving. It's been great, man. It's been great.
So, I mean, life is going pretty well right now. You've got your lumps, you've got your highs and your lows.
Oh yeah.
When you were working a chain gang, did you ever think that you would be to a point where you were hosting friends and, having nice whiskey and wine and standing around your own piano and enjoying that?
It was my dream, but did I know that it was going to happen? No, because like I said earlier, all that self-doubt and stuff that gets in the way, kind of can eat you up and get you in dark places that slows you down.
Yeah.
Get you away from your the light. I believe everybody in the world has some light to give to not for themselves. They got something to exude that can help somebody else. And it's hard to tap into that. And when you do, it's a beautiful thing. And I think that more people around the world, they just tap into, not thinking about what's on Fox News or CNN or whatever the media is feeding us on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, and kind of walk to the gas station that day and cross paths with people and understand that people are actually pretty nice.
They are.
People actually mean well.
Most people, most of the time. Yeah.
Most people, most of the time, mean well. And
tell me the Whataburger story.
Which one?
I heard you tried to get Whataburger sent to some inmates.
Oh, I nailed that.
Yeah?
So I was on a chain gang in East Texas. You call it a chain gang. It was like County Road and Bridge Department. You get put in. They know that you know how to either drive a tractor or have skills to work for the city for free. Yeah, pretty much. So they found out that I could drive a backhoe, and I was digging out culverts. And they ran me, and I'd rather be in a tractor.
There's worse jobs.
I'd rather be in a tractor with a guy on a horse with a freaking 30-30, watching me, feeling like I'm in Shawshank Redemption. Literally, this is my Andy Dufresne moment.
Yeah.
And so I became friends with the head guard named Wade. I don't remember Wade's last name. I cannot remember it to save my life. But He was he kind of just overlooked all the inmates, and we'd have a dozen in the van. We go out into parts of Smith County, and we dig out culverts. We clean up trash. We do burns for old brush. We did just anything, And so I was talking to Wade. I was like, Wade, man, I heard him talking on the phone to an officer. He's like, well, if I go take them all the way out there on the edge of town, I'm going to have to come all the way back to get them food tomorrow. And that's just going to be a logistical nightmare when we need to get their work done out there on the north end of Smith County. And I was sitting there, and I was like, Mr. Wade, it's like, where are we working tomorrow? And he said, oh, we're going to be clearing brush out behind Judge Bill Limmert's office on 155 out towards Lake Palestine. I said, oh. I was like, so, yeah, it's going to be tough for you to go all the way back downtown when we're going to be working like 5 and then there's traffic and everything, and you don't want to have to come back and pick us up at 6 to bring us back. And it just makes no sense, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, that's what I'm dealing with. And I was like, well, what if tomorrow you don't have to worry about food at Smith County, and there's just going to be a lot of Whataburger out there behind Judge Bill Limmert's office or his courthouse out there. And he goes, well, I could lose my job. And I said, well, let's just keep it between us. And you don't worry about that food tomorrow. He's like, all right. And so that night I got back to the jailhouse. And you have to go through screening. They wipe you down, make sure you're not bringing any contraband, which I got a contraband story that's hilarious. But I get in there and get to my phone, get to a payphone. You got to go pay, and that's a racket in the jailhouse. Boy, they're making so much money. You want this collect call for $13 for a minute and a half or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous. They're making so much money on those phone calls. So I called my mom, and I said, Mom, tomorrow, noon, I need you to drop off 24 double cheeseburgers, French fries, and onion rings to the back of Bill Limmert's courthouse and just put it back there. Just put it back there at 12. She's like, what am I doing, Paul? I was like, Mom, don't worry about it. I need you to buy 2 dozen double cheeseburgers because I know where we're going tomorrow, and I think I'm going to be able to feed all these inmates tomorrow. And she's like, okay, well, this makes me nervous. And I was like, well, just do it. And she's like, okay. And so I get off the phone, I call my dad. I said, Dad, my parents are divorced. I said, Dad, tomorrow, I need you to bring 24 cheeseburgers to behind Bill Limmert's office from the Blue Store, which is right there by the lake, which is another badass cheeseburger with bacon. I was like, bacon cheeseburgers all the way. He's like, what am I doing, son? I was like, Dad, we're going to be there, and we're going to go be able to eat those cheeseburgers in the woods while we're cleaning up, the back of this brush and all this stuff. We were literally mowing down with machetes, or the 2 guards were, and then we'd have to go by, and then we were picking, and we had gloves, and it was just a manual labor nightmare.
Hard work.
And
probably wasn't
but it's
cold.
better than being in a jail cell.
Yeah.
I'll take hard work over jail cell any day.
Yeah.
Like, let us go pave the roof with Andy Dufresne for that bucket of suds.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I always thought about. And
Yeah.
so the next day, we get out there, and my mom and my dad are behind. Like, we pull up while my mom and dad are dropping off the burgers. Like, bad timing. And I looked at Wade, and he's like, what did you do? And I was like, Wade, those are all double cheeseburgers from Whataburger and bacon cheeseburgers from the Blue Store. And I figure these boys would really like to have them. And then he goes, my goodness. And then my mom, when Wade gets out, and he said, sir, can I please hug my son? And he looked over at me, and he said, you better hurry. And I went over there, and I got to hug my mom, while I was gone. And she just wept,
Wow.
My dad, I gave him a quick handshake and a pat, and he knew what we were doing, knew what I'd done, was like, what in the hell? Of only person that would pull this off is you. And so when it came time to eat, the guys, this Mexican dude, Merced Castañeda, I'll never forget, there was a big brawl in the jailhouse because he stole all my commissary. And this had happened weeks before. And I got that bacon cheeseburger, and I took it up to Merced, and And I said, hey, buddy, it's all good. Have one of these. Gave them all to everybody, and they ate them like these guys, some of them haven't eaten a cheeseburger in 6, 8, some 10 years. Smith County, they'd bring it in for people that were pre-trial for a lot of bigger, like I was with murder, like some serious offenders would be in these little smaller, low risk facilities. And especially if they found out that they could weld.
Right.
Or if they could.
Okay. They got a skill. Yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. You're going to weld that. You know what I mean? And like meth heads. It'd be so many of the white meth head guys with no teeth that could just run a bead, weld their ass off, you know, and they would be in trouble because they got caught with freaking 2 pounds of crystal meth like the month before. And jailhouse keep them in there in county because they would be doing so much good work for them to keep them in low risk facilities, even though they've committed a serious crime.
Right.
And so that was going on. And so I gave it to Merced, and Merced took a bite out of that burger. I'll never forget. And he looked at me and he almost cried. And he said, I hadn't had a cheeseburger in almost a decade, Essay. That's what he says to me. He says, thank you. And from that point on, dude, I was cool with everybody in the gray suit, 5th floor trustee, Smith County Jail. I got I found out that we were going to be at another place, and I had them bring tacos and tamales. And then by about that time, one of the sheriffs that was on the horses with the gun was watching, and I think somebody started yapping their mouths.
Ruined it.
It ruins it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't. I mean, it's illegal. We could be smuggling tons of freaking coke in those, or drugs and contraband in those burgers.
Yeah.
So here's a funny contraband story.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
So we're out behind this old like, it was just a pretty much trailer park, and we were cleaning out. We were always cleaning out land because the county would take over land that deeds would come, up, and they'd fizzle out, and the county would just pretty much get what they can get. So we were behind this church, behind this, trailer park, and there was this guy, this black gentleman named, we called him Old School, and called him School. Skewl is how you'd say it. School. And so School was about 60-something years old, and I was like, so what are you in here for? He said, child support. And I was like, dang, man. He's like, yeah. He goes, day for day. Day for day. I'm in here for day, child support. It's like, dang, man. I was like, what's your favorite music? Stuff like that. And he goes, well, hell, Earth, Wind. I said, what? He goes, Earth, Wind, and Fire. He said, there ain't no other band. So Old School's out there. We're out there cleaning up and stuff. And he was just happy because he's getting 3 to 1. When you're a trustee, you get 3 days to 1 on your sentence. And I had 180 days to do. So I did like 89 or 90 days. And
what does trustee mean?
A trustee means that you can go out into the county and you've got enough.
Okay, gotcha.
They trust you to go into general population with your gray suit on, clean up trash off the side of the road, not go and just kill a kid or do something crazy or just be a freaking rampant,
run away in your backhoe.
Yeah, run away.
Do dramas,
you know what I mean. So, they would trust. It was that you'd get a trustee time, which is 3 to 1, 3 days to 1 day of your sentence. If you do this, that means, and then they would keep a lot of these guys with big sentences that they knew were good at a trade because they're getting free labor.
Yeah,
it's a business.
Sure,
big time. And we're back there behind these old rundown trailer homes, and Old School finds a box of old nudie mags.
Oh.
Old Penthouse and old, like, 80s. He's like, look at this, he's just ripping up and he's putting them all in his pockets, right? Okay, he's just grabbing them to take them back to the jail. And so we're getting back, and when we go back, you get out of the bus, out of the van, and you go into this clearing area where 2 officers are patting you down. They make you strip down, and, they check you, and you can go in, you get your clothes back on, you go, and they walk you to yourself, right? So I'm in there right behind School. It's me, School, and Reverend Al. We named him Reverend Al because he acted like Al Sharpton. Reverend Al. And he talked like this, Reverend Al. And so we're sitting there, and Reverend Ad's like, he looks at me and he says, "School about to get busted." And I said, "What?" I was like, "Dude, I don't even know. This was the biggest movie I was ever in all of my time in jail." And these officers start peeling porn pictures off this black man's body, off his suit, underneath this. What is this? What is this? And we're all laughing hysterically. Sure. The sheriffs, everybody are laughing. We're all looking at them in the holding tank area where we're getting patted down. We're just having a moment to where we're just dudes laughing our asses off. And it all brought us back to felt like they were just enjoying every bit of this part of their job because it's hilarious.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like 1980s, what kind of, it was some serious, going on in these 80s penthouses. Well, we get in there. They say school, and that was the day that we had some cheeseburgers too. And he tried to bring in 2 cheeseburgers. He had 2 cheeseburgers and nudie pictures all down his legs, like they got him butt naked, stark naked, and he had pictures stuck to his ass and shit. And we're just laughing our asses off in there, dude. And so we finally get back into our tank. There's 3 tanks, and the tanks have 24 cells and 1 toilet in each tank, which that's the worst part. But and it's not close. It's just right there.
Yeah,
you crap in front of everybody.
Sure,
and that's the worst. But so we get back in there, and school is right across the bunk from me. And I'd finally moved to a bottom bunk because I've been there long enough. And when you're a top bunk when you come into jail, and then when people get released, your bunk comes open. You get the bottom bunk because you've earned seniority of being there long enough.
Okay.
So I'm finally at bottom bunk, and school's right across, and we would roll up top cigarettes and smoke. And that's all we did was smoke cigarettes in jail. And then we were the last 3 months of Texas allowing cigarette smoke in jail, so it was pretty good.
Pretty good timing.
Rolling cigarettes and just smoking them, sitting there, reading books, reading the Bible, trying to get.
Did they give you matches?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's all you got, matches. And so school, I look over across the little bay, the little hallway, and school goes, "Look at this." And he has 2 more of the nudie pictures he still smuggled. So he still somehow got 2 nudie pics of his favorite 2 girls. He said, "I wasn't going to let her go." So, yeah, dude, that's the most contraband, funniest story ever, dude. When the cops or when the guards and the inmates become just like guys sitting at a bar. And that doesn't happen. But when it becomes just laughter and real, genuine, having a good time because you can't help it because it's hilarious. And they didn't write him up.
Sure.
Just
it's
harmless.
Especially if it's funny.
It was so funny, dude. It was so funny, but so illegal. You cannot have pornography and and that just. It was hilarious, man. And I mean, him rummaging through all the books, though, watching him just in heaven. Because, I mean, he'd been incarcerated for 15 years,
right?
And doing all these different stuff in and out of jail. And so, it was Christmas. Man.
Yeah, that was the
He's
best.
like, this is when it was good.
And
this is when it was good. Back in 1980, boy, I was out in Dallas, Texas, and I was going out to this club, and I had a girl just like that. This is when it was good. He's like, "Oh, I'm taking this. I'm taking this. I'm taking this." Did it 15 books later. It looks like Rat had just chewed up this whole box of
Too funny.
So,
dude, all of this sounds so similar to the Marine Corps.
Oh,
there are versions of this story that I've seen with Marines, time and time again. Yeah, that's hilarious, man. What was it like when you got to walk out? Did you feel like?
I was in
fresh
my
start?
sweatpants and my sweatshirt, and it was hot. And my mom picked me up, and she took me straight to my favorite Mexican food restaurant. And I went and ate, and then my guts about just poured out of me because I hadn't eaten anything but processed freaking fake meat for the past 3 months. And she cooked me a meal. I saved up some money and went out, went to college at Abilene Christian, got kicked out on probation, went back, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in and out for a while.
Yeah.
And then got out of there, and
Tough cycle to break.
I turned 20 in jail.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. They brought hostess freaking Twinkies, and they put a couple candles in there and freaking sang happy birthday to me, and we had a little hangout. And some guys were doing drugs, smoking pot, and I was like, I'm not doing drugs in this jail.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Don't make it worse.
This is what got me here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. And look, come Monday, dude, we all got piss tested.
Oh,
a lot of people got more time.
Yeah.
Because of my birthday party.
Their decision.
I was like, hey, dude, I didn't.
Yeah.
It was my birthday party.
Yeah. Their
But
decision.
yeah, I turned 20 in jail, got out before I was 21, moved to Colorado, and started this whole journey because I couldn't get back into school. And, it was over as far as jobs. And, in Texas, dude, if you do not have a degree and you have any priors, you're not getting a job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're white, black, whatever.
Make your own.
Like, you make your own.
Yeah.
Just go do it.
How did you, or did you, I guess, would be a better question, develop your voice?
My granddad, taught me in the church how to sing, and my grandmother. And I was talking to my grandmother about that the other day. She's like, do you remember us singing harmony together when we were riding around in the Jeep?
Mm.
I was like, yeah, that's what trained my ear at a young age. Just hearing music is more important than doing it or singing it. If you can hear it in your head, then you can accomplish anything. You've just got to know when it's on or when it's off.
I find the same thing with calling animals.
Oh yeah,
like elk, is my thing. But if you
don't understand how to age an animal or understand if one can get to a certain level or it's still good to breed, or you've got to. It's an artistic, smart. You got to be able to look and know an animal, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people that I hunt with, that I take hunting, can't tell a 3-year-old from a 5-year-old.
Right.
And like that's a area where you've got to know if a deer's post mature or not.
Right. But if you can really listen to an elk, like really, really listen to it,
you can tell.
Then you can start to make that sound too. But if you just try to make an elk sound, then you're not
generic.
You're not communicating, right? And I think that
they all have their own tones in different regions too.
For sure.
Like the ones that I've heard that ones that are in colder climate that stay further up into the altitude have like a lower rut or lower turn because or higher pitched because it can sail through like the
open canyons. Yeah.
Open canyons. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Also, that's
elk very interesting.
That live at higher altitude have their organs are different sizes. We killed an elk at like 12,000 feet in Colorado, and his heart was almost twice the size of the elk that I see
down in the plains.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Right?
They don't have to work as hard.
You got to pump more blood because there's less oxygen up there.
The muscles working harder.
It was amazing. It's amazing.
Insane.
But yeah, I think that the ear is really important in hunting, and obviously it is in music too.
Oh man, my last 2 deer that I killed, we just rattled them in.
Yeah.
There's no corn, there's no maize fields. It's just we're in brush, and we're in South Texas, or actually Central Texas, Albany, and we rattled them in. And a 7-year-old mambo comes out. Gray already around his muzzle a little bit. He's got it white in his cape. You can tell. Post mature, he needs to go, and he's running with a young buck that's ready to pop at him. That's about to take him, and I think this is his last year.
Time for the young buck to move to the
bottom
buck.
Yeah, exactly. To move on. And when he pulled in, dude, hauling ass into this field, and I smoked him. I have 6.5 Creedmoor Cooper.
Yeah,
a Cooper firearms. I think they're up here.
Montana, I think.
Montana, yeah. And amazing gun. And, he didn't even know it hit him.
Sure.
Boom. Right there. The guide was like, do you like it? Pa! Do you like it? I was like, I knew. Like, I wasn't even like I'm not here to hunt horns. I'm here to hunt age and what needs to go. So.
Well, that's the big signal of maturity in hunters is when they start to understand the age class is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And whether that's
now,
targeting.
I could not class an elk. I've never been on elk hunt, so I would be very ignorant.
Well, we need to fix that at some
I
point.
would love to.
We need to fix that.
Have you ever
at some
killed
point.
a moose?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that like?
Dude, it was pretty cool. I went and hunted moose on the
Where?
Alaska Peninsula.
Yeah.
So that's that big long peninsula that goes out towards like the Bering Sea in Russia, basically. Yeah. And flew into this little tiny fishing village that had 57 people in it. There was half of a basketball court made out of pallets and plywood, and huge tidal swings there, like a 20-foot tide. And when school got out, if it was low tide, all these kids would race down the beach on four-wheelers. And I asked one of the ladies that lived there where they're going, and this native gal says, "Oh, they're going to throw bottles at the brown bears in the dump because they could get to the dump at low tide." And then they'd, when the tide started coming in, they'd come back.
Try to beat it.
Yeah. And, I'd go out and fish with these kids while we were waiting for the weather to clear up. I had a great time in this little tiny village. Then we fly out in Super Cubs, just get the hell beat out of us flying in there.
Oh, God, yeah.
Basically did not land when or where we wanted to. So we've got like brush sticking out of the Super Cub when we landed, but it was okay. They're built for it, right? But it was a little sketchy.
Yeah.
So get there. My guide had flown in first, and we've got half a camp. My videographer's supposed to fly in next, but weather closes out. He can't come in. He can't come in the next day. He can't come in the day after that. So I'm like, man, and I was up there to film this hunt for a gun company I was working for. I was like, man, am I going to have to like film this thing on an iPhone or something? Like what's going to happen? And we're watching all these huge brown bears. It was right where the world record brown bear was killed. And they'd cruise up and down this creek, and you could see these salmon in the creek. And, these massive storms would roll through from the Bering Sea into the North Pacific. It was just phenomenal and so incredibly remote. And then you'd see moose moving through the valley, going through these willows and just these giant horns. But you couldn't go to them to hunt them. You needed them to come close to you. So our camp is
by a river,
right
probably,
here.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be near that water.
Or by the airstrip where the Super Cub can land. Because once you shoot that moose and start cutting it up, one of those bears is going to be on it quick. So basically, we needed a moose that was big enough to come close enough to us. Eventually, Max Benz, the videographer, was able to fly in. And I think on his second day, a great big bull was there first thing in the morning. I was up in the dark, which is in Alaska at that time is still pretty early in the day, and watched this bull walking down towards the airstrip. And it was the same deal. I was getting guided by my friend Cole Kramer, and Cole goes, "Do you like him?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I was there.
Wow.
I was there.
What were you shooting?
I was shooting a 300 Win Mag.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as he said, "All right, now," shot him through both shoulders. He spun around, and Cole goes, "Shoot him again." And when he was on the of shoot, I had another round going down range. Both of them were great shots. One would have done it. Down he goes. So now he's like 200 yards from the airstrip.
So how long are you all like, okay, now we just rang the dinner bell?
Yeah, for sure.
For brown bears, dude. That's a world that I'm just like, dude, I'll have a judge with nothing but 45 longs in my pocket if I'm going to ever be in that situation. We're not going to pull Revenant.
Cole had a 375 H&H, which is what a lot of the Alaskan guides carry. And so it took 5 of us, I think either 4 or 5 hours to get him cut up and move that 200 yards.
Did y'all have any brown bear sightings around you?
Nope, not while that was going on. We dragged the guts downwind first thing, so knowing that a bear would probably come from downwind. So if he showed up, he could grab a kidney or a liver or something like that and not mess with us, because they want the organs more than they want the meat.
Really?
Yeah. There's just
more blood,
more fat in them and stuff like that. So we get this bull cut up, packed back to the airstrip, and then the next day we start taking flights out. And it took a lot of flights to get all the moose out, because this thing weighed about 1,800 pounds. They're just monsters.
Palmated beast.
It was 69 inches wide.
Oh my God!
Just a beautiful, beautiful animal. And then we got to give all of that meat to that village. And we ended up killing 2 moose. My buddy who was hunting a little farther away got a really beautiful bull as well. And we gave all that meat to that village. And all they had was salmon. And they had more salmon than they knew what to do with. But what they really wanted was moose meat. So that was really cool. One of my favorite things about hunting is giving meat away.
Oh, yeah, man.
And being able to do it in a remote Alaskan village like that. It was during COVID, so they had a hard time getting supplies in. And then when our plane, our big plane was coming back to get us, like the Alaskan wireless had fired up, so everybody in the village knew that plane was coming. And when it landed, the doors open and they just start handing out fast food, just like what you're talking about, right? So there was Pizza Hut, there was Burger King, there was McDonald's, everything from Anchorage that people wanted. They'd been able to get on that plane for everybody, and the entire village shows up at the airstrip. It was cool, man. It was a super cool hunt. I got to eat a little bit of the meat while I was there. I brought a little bit back in my luggage. It's a meat that is really satisfying, and it's just a big wild experience. It's fun.
Dude, I'm just I was up in Wilson, Wyoming, and or Wilson, Montana. Sorry, and no, Wyoming. Wilson's by the Grand Tetons, right?
I think that's Wyoming.
Yeah. So I'm over there, and we had a private show, and we had this Airbnb, and one of my guitar players at the time. There was this baby moose down by the river, and he was just like, "Oh, we're gonna pet it." And all of a sudden, Daddy and Mama come running out of that brush, and he runs all the way back up to the back of this, like with this baby moose, Daddy and Mommy running after him like it's a slow-mo motion movie. And we get to the sliding back door of the Airbnb, and I close it up, and I'm literally this palmated son of a bitch of a moose just standing on the back porch, just eyeing us. And I was like, dude, we ain't in petting zoo land. Like, fact that like you didn't just get trampled because they hit you with those front legs. That's what
done.
They do.
Yeah,
and they run like Sugar Ray Leonard. They smoke you with that, and then they just trample you to death.
Yeah,
they don't even hit you with their horns.
Right.
Moose are not like buckers.
Yeah.
They trample with legs.
Yeah,
and like I was like, that would be terrifying.
Bad way to go.
Bad way to go, dude.
Yeah.
Bad way to go.
Well,
but my favorite meat is
glad
definitely,
you have a fast guitarist.
Yeah, he ran his ass off. Axis.
Mine too. If we had access up here, I'd never hunt elk again.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you come down to Texas, I can put you on as much access as you want.
Brother, I'm there.
Got you.
I love it.
We're going to hunt this winter, man.
Cool.
You got to take me on an elk hunt, though. But I don't want to do your crazy military hunt and go backpacking for 19 days and go up a ridge. Like Big Boy's going to tire out. I'm not a Marine, all right? I play guitar and piano for a living here.
We're going to do a big velvet elk hunt.
Yeah, put me in a stand. Let's call them in.
Yeah.
Then let me pull one off. I'll shoot it with a powder rifle. I don't care.
Yeah.
You ever shoot black powder?
I have a little bit. I am the farthest thing from an expert in it. Do you shoot them much?
No, I have before, but I've got some buddies that they're obsessed.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just like, I mean, it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather have a magazine.
It's the 21st century.
Like, come on, dude. We're not hunting with Thomas Jefferson here.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty ridiculous.
You know, I know a lot of people that do it because it gives them access to seasons and stuff. That
they can hunt
have.
stuff. Yeah. They can hunt.
But some people are just
you bow hunt,
ride or die black powder. Yeah, I'll hunt with anything, man. If there's a blowgun only season, I would do that.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I definitely prefer a rifle.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's lethal, it's accurate.
I'm very comfortable with it. First off,
I don't have any ego wrapped up in this stuff, so I want the animal to die as quickly and ethically as possible. And a rifle's the best tool for that, for me. Yeah.
Man, I have, Hondo, Texas, down at Quail Crossing Ranch and Concho Ranch down there. These guys really have been growing some amazing animals. And, they brought in a bunch of axis, and I killed a 33-inch, son of a gun.
Beautiful.
And my wife is like, get your butt back down there and give me some more axis.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're elusive. You can't, it doesn't matter if you're in a, even if it's a high fence, like a 2,000 acre high fence, those axis, no.
They're clicked on.
They're so on. And when you get one, like I hopped out. I'd been hunting one for 3 days. And we're in the side-by-side, rolling around, drinking beer, having a good time. We're kind of like out of trigger mode, like, got our bolts open kind of time, and we're not just like, whatever, we're just enjoying the range.
Yeah.
And then here we come up on the herd, and I'm like, I've had a few beers, of course, this is my opportunity. And then the big bull comes out, and I just step out of the side-by-side and don't even use the sandbags on the deal because I didn't have a shot. And I just stood up, free hand, brought up into him. Boom! He went, whoo! With this big noise, stood up on his back legs. And then I put another one in, and boom! Another one, and finally he falls, And my buddies are like, what the hell? You just freehand shot that kind of crazy? I was like, I've been hunting this thing for 3 days. I was like, we're not going to get another shot. Like, this is the opportunity. It's now, Mm-hmm. And, dude, I never knew that meat got that good.
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal. I've hunted them in Hawaii, Australia, and Texas, and they're good everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
They're just an awesome
And they're
animal.
Indian animals.
Right.
And they're from India, right?
They're from India.
Yeah.
And I think why they're so clicked on is they evolved with leopards and tigers. Like, I would be clicked on to if that's
what's hunting
if
me.
that's the neighborhood I grew up in, I'd be paying attention all the time.
Dude, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, you said something earlier that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around, which is that a source of you writing this music comes from the time that you're out on the road. In my mind, this feels like it would be draining, like everybody's pulling away from you, but you're actually getting something from it that you're using later on this tour, which is a bit of a comeback tour for you. What's something that you feel like you've collected that you've stored up that you're going to be using later on?
Well, it's just knowing that none of the accolades, none of the awards, none of the ticket sales, none of the money, none of that matters. And it's all about delivering your gift that God gave you and you're called to this, just like a preacher or a minister or somebody who's in the air or in the Marines or any type of, military, you're called to action.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You're called. You have something in your heart and your mind that brought you there.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than what you are. It's like God. It's like telling you, nudging you this way or that way. And I've realized that I've already made it, and now it's about trying to live out what the legacy is and what I want to say. And, my next single is going to be dropping here soon, and I haven't told anybody yet, but it's called Thankful. And, the chorus goes, I was a cuss, a riot, a self-righteous son of a bitch. Now I'm grateful that I used to be a handful. You fall, you break, you heal, and get up again, And then it's like, these are the kind of lyrics I'm writing now, that it's just about, knowing that you've got an opportunity to be an impression, to make impressions on people. And so what is that impression going to be? And how good are you going to try to use what your talents that God gave you? How are you going to really use them in the best way? Not take advantage of them, not take them for granted, but really just give them back. And I've learned that that's what brings me back out here. It's the people,
Is that the advice that you'd give to up-and-coming artists?
I think that everybody's got to find that inside themselves personally. It's kind of like your own spirituality or your own kind of thought or your own, your own mind with God or prayer or anything like that. It's kind of personal.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that everybody needs to find what I call their bird dog trait. And it's where, like, you don't have to tell a lab after you kill a duck to jump into the water and bring it back. It's just instinctual, right?
Right.
But you put the lab in its lane and allowed it to thrive at what it's good at. And every human has one of those traits inside, but some people aren't lucky enough to be ever put in their lane.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's like I was lucky enough to be thrown that duck into the water, and like to jump. And now that I know what I'm good at like now it's just like it's on, you know.
I love that.
So.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for your time.
Man.
I hope you have an awesome
dude,
show tonight.
Just because you're here tonight, I'm about to bring the A game, brother.
Okay.
Tonight,
right.
dude.
I
We're going to have fun.
I appreciate it.
And, man, like I said before, man, I look up to you guys and the guys that you fought with, and you've kept our country free. And I believe that if I could say anything, that right now in these times, we live in the best country in the world, and we're the luckiest people in the world. And we need to be kind to one another on a small town basis before we start thinking that we're world changers. You know, it's about the bottom up, you know, like the people that you've run into, opening a door, being courteous, thinking about somebody else other than your own self, you know.
Yeah.
And I believe that's just what I thrive to do. And I try to bring joy to people through music and laughter and cutting up and trying to be real, you know.
You're doing it.
Well, thank you, brother.
You're doing it.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
God bless you, man.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you to everyone who has taken the time out of their busy lives to write a review for the show and share it with their friends. I'm extremely proud of how intelligent, engaged, and adventurous this audience is. Original music for the Six Ranch podcast is written and performed by Justin Hay. Art for the Six Ranch podcast was created by John Chatelain and digitized by Celia Harlander. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.